The battle for the heart and soul of the former ruling party, that is Jubilee Party, is still a matter before court. But then again, in the fullness of time, what could be the possible outcome out of this, and what does that mean for the former President Uhuru Kenyatta and his close ally Jeremiah Kioni versus Sabina Chege and Kanini Kega? That is our conversation today on Siasa Brigade, your go-to point on matters, governance, and politics at large. I'm yours truly, Richard Mwanju. Always a pleasure to have you on board. Now, to help me unpack that conversation is none other than East Africa's renowned political analyst, the first of his name, Herman Manyora.
Yes, Richard.
How are you, sir?
Wonderful.
You're looking cool in a red tie.
Yeah, it is.
Could it be that you're trying to tell the world that you are bequeathed this by Uhuru Kenyatta after their separation with Ruto? That tie was known as with the Uhuru Ruto government.
Yeah, this is the one Ruto had been given by Uhuru Kenyatta.
When the marriage split,
he took it and brought it to me.
You are bequeathed that.
Yeah.
Then again, even before we get straight into the conversation, we are starting, we are midweek and disappointing news. Your love of country music and all that, and Roger Whittaker passes on at 87. Singer for My Land is Kenya. Yeah. Did you love that guy?
Oh, wonderful. Who didn't?
Who did?
Who didn't?
My question is, do you find him that he was that person who really embedded and tried to amplify the call to patriotism?
Yeah, I found it disheartening that people who are not really us could love our country more. It reminds me of Feroz Knowledge, who once said he should be forgiven for really talking about this country. There are people better placed to talk about this country, really. So that's what you couldn't help feeling that way. Suppose you were half as patriotic as he came through with his artistry. Yeah. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Amen.
Yes.
That of the way, sir. We're talking matters, the fate of Jubilee Party and its future. And currently, we are still seeing both divides pitting against each other. The Uhuru Jeremiah Kioni faction versus the Kanini Kega and Sabina Chege faction. But let's isolate the cases. Let's start with Sabina Chege, former women rep of Murang'a County. Many people attribute her meteoric rise in the world of politics and give credit to Uhuru Kenyatta, the former president. Would you then say that looking now that she's been pitted against Uhuru Kenyatta, it somewhat shows that maybe she's a first-class example of complete political betrayal and ungratefulness?
I think that's Kenyan. There are many things Kenyans do I wouldn't even dream of doing myself. Where do you get the face if you are Sabina Chege? To do the sort of things she's doing to Uhuru Kenyatta. Where? I even once asked, how can she be led into sitting on the three-legged stool which Uhuru used to sit on? Uhuru has just taken a small walk, then it is grabbed away and ambiwa kaa kwa hii kiti ya mzee. Three-legged stool. You know, these Kenyans we are basically animals. For two terms, Sabina Chege has been the Murang'a women rep. She can say, for all that I care, that she did it because of her own strength. We know the truth. The truth is, without Uhuru Kenyatta, without Jubilee, she would not have been a woman rep, MP for 2 terms. Then she's nominated to parliament, courtesy of the same Jubilee, the same Uhuru. There were many Kenyans Jubilee and Uhuru would have nominated to parliament. That's not enough. She's made deputy whip. You know, a deputy whip was an office, a car and a drive and a thing about God. All these cutters of Jubilee and Uhuru Kenyatta. And somebody can have the face, the audacity to do what Sabina Chege is doing to Jubilee and Uhuru Kenyatta. I think if there's heaven, there are some people who would not reach there.
Just like she was living under the immunity of the former President Uhuru Kenyatta when he was at the helm of the government, right now we are seeing Sabina Chege really being embraced by President William Ruto. But then again, the question is, who do you say for Sabina Chege, she is living on borrowed political oxygen and she's just a refugee in Kenya Kwanza?
History can bear me out. People like this don't go far. They don't go far. They are shameless. They have no values. They have no principles. They stand for nothing. They have no friend they can't betray. You are from a tribunal fighting to own Jubilee, and in the afternoon, you are in a Kenya Kwanza PG. You are from court trying to wrestle the party from its owners, and the following day, you are dining and wining with the enemies of Jubilee. And they are introducing you, if you are Kioni, as the Secretary General. Not Kioni, Kanini Kega. Sabina Chege is being referred to as the party leader. This shamelessness, where did it come from in this country? Let me tell you, Richard.
Sure.
You may think there are many things that differentiate you from an animal. I want to tell you there are not many. If you just check the boxes, everything you do, an animal does. If it's even sleeping, animals must sleep.
A leader elected into office by the
male animal requires a male female, a female animal. They get children like you. They eat like you. They do everything you do. And this is what human beings like Sabina Chege ought to learn. The only thing that stands out between you and an animal is what some people call shame on you. The capacity to have the shame of doing certain things. That this I can't do. The rational aspect of the human being. So certain things that clearly present you as an animal, you can't do them unless you are an animal. A basic animal beyond what we are. Because we are all animals, but beyond us there is another animal that is really animal. Or we are beyond those other animals. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So Sabina Chege to me, she represents the worst we have from our political ecosystem. But the moment you are shameless to that level.
Very well. Before we get back to Sabina Chege way later in the conversation, let's cross over to Kanini Kega. And at the time when he was trying to wrestle Uhuru Kenyatta from taking mantle of Jubilee Party, we saw Kanini Kega join the likes of Ndindi Nyoro, Kimani, Ichung'wah in literally trying to flatten the mountain that is the Kenyatta institution in Mount Kenya politics. This far, if you look at Kanini Kega, would you say that going by Uhuru Kenyatta's pin drop silence this far, somewhat Kanini Kega has been able to literally tame down the bright shed that was Uhuru Kenyatta in Gema politics?
You cannot mention Uhuru Kenyatta and Kanini Kega. Kanini Kega ni mboga gani? Hiyo ni mboga gani?
The same firebrand who made Uhuru come out of the shadow.
Ama ni Managu. Hiyo ni mboga gani? You can't use Kenyatta and Kanini Kega in the same sentence as if to suggest they can be at power, there can be a contest between them. How? But you have correctly put, Kenyatta is an institution. Kanini Kega is just a small young person who would have been nothing if Uhuru had not mainstreamed him.
But an individual who...
Nobody knew Kanini Kega until Jubilee and Uhuru Kenyatta began to put him in the far front. This is
but it is the same individual who's been able to get the institution out of the woods to come and address the issues about Jubilee.
How? A lot of things that are happening don't make sense. But because we respect our institutions, we may not say beyond that. But even just common sense. If you allow common sense to guide our discussion, you will agree that there's nothing Kanini Kega and Sabina Chege are doing that anybody can write home about or celebrate.
Yeah. For Kanini Chege particularly.
Or even in terms of logically saying they could end up with a party as opposed to, removing it from Kioni, Uhuru Kenyatta and the rest.
Can't they?
Just common sense or even plain logic. It's not possible. But because we respect our institutions, we allow them to continue. But again, I must point out, and I've been pointing out, sometimes I meet some people from the judiciary. They ask Manyora, bono unatuchapa sana. Mimi siwachapi. I'm just saying, the moment Kenyans lose trust in the judiciary, in the administration of justice, that would include not just the judiciary, including the police, then we have no country. We have no country. The judiciary should not allow themselves to engage in games by politicians. Politicians are dirty people. Politicians are used to dirty games. Today they are fighting each other. Tomorrow they are in bed together. Then they leave you looking very foolish. I have advised our judiciary, keep off politics. Let politicians engage in their stupid games, in their dirty games. Remain upright and strong. Let people believe in the judiciary. Don't enter these games. And the way not to enter these games, if a case comes before you, and you see this is rubbish, dismiss it as rubbish. Simple. Tell them, go home. This is not worth discussing. The court's time will not be wasted on this. Dismiss them and they go home. And you can dismiss them judiciously. I'm not saying you just dismiss them. This is how foolish people can react to what I'm saying. There are ways you can bring the case to an end, including doing it immediately, expeditiously. It is brought on Monday, and by Thursday you have decided and they have gone home. And you decide on a case in such a manner, no other politician will bring their case to court. That's what I'm advised to judiciary. I will not go into these Jubilee things, but the judiciary is as aware as any Kenyan is aware on which side Kanini, Kega and Sabina are pulling. I've already said. They leave the court today morning, and in the afternoon they are attending a Jubilee PG. How would you come back to my court? And I live in this. I have read sufficiently. Let nobody look at me and think I don't know the things I'm talking about. I have seen decisions from jurisdictions, including serious jurisdictions, where you look at the decision from the court, it springs out of the court's knowledge of what's going on outside. And they even say as much. Come on, I'm challenging the judges. Check.
Let's take a trip down memory lane.
You cannot leave my courts. You are fighting over Jubilee today. And in the afternoon, you are attending a Jubilee meeting, PG meeting, or you are in State House. And 3 days later, you are coming back to my court. If it's my court.
If it is your court.
If I'm the judge, you'll go home. I'll dismiss you to go home.
If you go back in time.
Let them go and read decisions made elsewhere.
And benchmark from that.
Yes. We don't just speak here. We are informed, my friend.
Very well then. Noted. Yes. But then going down memory lane, sometime back in February of 2022, we saw the powerful combination of Uhuru Kenyatta, David Murathe and Jeremiah Kioni successfully ejecting President William Ruto out of Jubilee Party.
Yes.
Don't you think that the lethal combination of President William Ruto, yes, and now that he has embraced Sabina Chege and Kanini Kega, that is also way powerful that he can actually escort Uhuru Kenyatta out of Jubilee Party?
Listen, thank you. Uhuru Kenyatta, Raphael Tuju, David Murathe, evicted my friend Kostani and the rest out of Jubilee. Because, again, we know our country. Parties have their owners. Jubilee belongs to Uhuru Kenyatta. UDA belongs to William Ruto. Is that right?
Sure.
So, you should be telling me renegades in UDA should know Ruto can evict them in the way he was evicted from Jubilee.
But not come to
Jubilee. What
and
business would
Kega and Sabina Chege?
How? What are they? I mean, Ruto is in UDA. He can do all the things Uhuru did on him, but to his UDA members. ODM belongs to Raila Odinga. For now. Wiper is Kalonzo's party. Where later Ujinga huko utaona. Why now when it comes to Jubilee, we are trying to behave as if we don't know that in the absence of Uhuru there will be nothing like Jubilee. It will not be there.
Now that we
the name, the stature, the networking, the connections, the resources that an individual brings to a party, you remove that, there's no party.
There's no party.
So, Who doesn't know if there wasn't the Uhuru Kenyatta, there won't be Jubilee?
But then again, now that
Simple.
as much as you're saying
Simple,
that,
yeah.
we're still seeing Kanini, Kega and Sabina Chege put a spirited fight to take the party, and put it under their stewardship. Would you then say that they're somewhat exaggerating their ability to solve out of illusion?
That's where the problem comes. You cannot have simple fellows like Sabina Chege and Kanini Kega trying to wrestle a big party like Jubilee out of Uhuru's hands. They don't have the wherewithal. They don't have anything going. That leaves people logically concluding they are being sent by somebody. And doesn't augur well for that somebody. What benefit will there be for, say, William Ruto in the troubles of Jubilee? What would you do with it, even if they gave you? Even if you won and wrestled Jubilee out of Uhuru? What value will it bring to you? What does that leave us thinking? You want to do what we used to do when we were children. To show you I'm a man. Yeah, come on. At a certain age, those things you don't do. To show people, to do things to show you are a man.
Oh. So are you saying that
by being president, that's already, it can't get higher than that. You have the highest in the country. You don't need to show anybody anything. No, we already know you are a big man. So what would you want to show Uhuru Kenyatta? Because there's no other reason. The only things you want to score is maybe some small revenge, or to prove to him you are a somebody, or to revenge because he did it to you. No, that revenge is never anything to be considered by great minds and great people. Revenge is always for weak people.
Very well.
So I would advise whoever is after Jubilee, leave Jubilee. And Uhuru himself has said as much. I wanted to leave active politics, leave Jubilee Party, but I cannot sit by and watch as you do the sort of things you are doing to Jubilee. What does that mean? That means we are creating the possibility of an ugly struggle between Jubilee and Kenya Kwanza, between Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. And any of these ugly things, you can never predict where they go.
Very well.
Because I've always warned. I've warned all of us. Let desist from being seen to be going after people who have served this country. If they stole, take them to court.
In a subtle way.
No, direct, arrest them, take them to court. Hata kama ni Uhuru Kenyatta is no longer, there's no immunity. Take him to court. But to be seen to be going after people, I even said this of Matiang'i. Anybody who has served this country, let them retire in peace. We want to create a tradition, a culture of respect for people who leave office. Presidents, ministers, let them enjoy their life. Let them know they don't have to steal to get money to protect themselves. You get it? Let them know you can do a good job and go home and nobody will follow you. Now, an attack on Jubilee is doing exactly what I'm saying we shouldn't be doing. An attack on Jubilee is an attack on Uhuru Kenyatta. And I'm asking us all to desist from attacking people who have served this country. And I'm not protecting them from wrongdoing. If they have stolen, committed a crime, go for them, present them to court. And I'm sure Kenyans will support you. But to be seen to be going after people, kwa uchokozi, when they have retired, that is not the culture we want. That's not the tradition we want to establish for us. We want to establish a tradition where we respect our former presidents. Look at Obama in America. He's protected round the clock. It is inconceivable. Inconceivable.
That is the word.
Yes, inconceivable that a government can withdraw the security of a former head of state. Inconceivable that the government can withdraw the security of a former first lady.
Mama Ngina Kenyatta.
You can't do that. No. The message you send outside there is that we are just animals. We are not people. How can you even imagine a dream of going to withdraw the security and it's publicized of somebody like Mama Ngina Kenyatta? How?
Talking of which, you are a celebrated historian and policy analyst, and
Yes.
you've gone on record many times saying many successful gamer politicians or even national leaders have oftentimes been the one who've been on the good books of the first family, the founding family of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta.
Yes.
If you go way back in time when Ndindi Nyoro, Kimani Ichung'wah and the brigade under Kenya Kwanza was really going bare knuckles on Uhuru Kenyatta, we saw less of protection from Sabina, Chege and Kanini Kega. Would you then say that even for them to have a brighter political future in game and national politics, they first need to be remorseful to the first family and also try to be in the right pages of Uhuru Kenyatta himself? It is not that they already have it all in their bucket that they can now kick Uhuru Kenyatta.
You cannot pamper, you don't have to pamper Uhuru Kenyatta or the Kenyattas. You don't have to kneel before them. But you only need to be aware and awake to reality that this is not a family you can wish away. This is an institution. Political conveniences of the day may make them appear to be out of favor.
Sure.
And in your juvenile excitement, if you are a junior politician,
A firebrand like Kanini Kega.
you rush, oh, the Kenyattas, Moses Kuria can say he will go and do that other thing in the gate. People are just watching you. Are you talking this about Kenyatta? Gachagua can say he's going to crush the remnants of the Moi, Rongai.
Emotive land subject has popped up.
People are just watching you slowly. You'll burn your fingers. Attacking the Kenyattas, you burn your fingers.
No matter how bright your star is shining,
You will burn your fingers. That you can take to the bank.
a young lady is allowed to
You
make
don't need
mistakes.
you don't need to supplicate before them. You don't need to beg them. You don't need to kneel before them. You don't need to sing their praises. No. But be careful about antagonizing them. Because there is something Kikuyu about the Kenyattas. The Kikuyu pride in the history of this country is incomplete without the Kenyattas in the picture.
Incomplete.
Yes. This is how history works. Historical figures have a way of rubbing in your history. For good or for worse, you can't escape them. You can't talk of the Kikuyu place in this country with a lot of pride, the way Kikuyus think. They are very important. They are entitlement. And then you tell me you can wish away Kenyatta. Kenyatta ako hapo katikati hapo. And there are many people who are what they are today because of the association with the Kenyattas. Themselves, their parents, their grandparents. That's how history works. And that's how these things work. A leader can even be very bad, very unpopular. How many people has Moi made in this country, especially the Kalenjin?
Countless.
Ruto may spring up. He may disregard Moi and become president. He may whitewash the Mois, the Gideons, the other one in Rongai, what was his name?
Raymond.
Raymond. He can whitewash them. But there is a line he can't cross. I'm telling you. There's a line Ruto cannot cross. And he knows it.
Firebrand.
Please listen to me. There's a line in the attack which Ruto cannot cross.
So Kanini shouldn't dare try.
He can't even go for Gideon Moi. He knows it. If your attacks become personal on the Mois, and all these big people who served under Moi are still alive.
In the interest of time.
So there are these young politicians who don't know that Ruto is a sharp politician. Have you seen him attacking Gideon? Because you are not attacking Gideon, you are attacking Moi. And there are many people, not in business, not in the disciplined forces, military, police, what?
You attack Uhuru,
not in the public service. People that Moi made.
and they're watching from a distance.
Yeah, they will not allow you. And that's how politics works. You must know how far to go.
Well, there you have it from a man born Manyora talking matters, the future of Jubilee Party, the former ruling party, and also what the current wrangles mean for Sabina, Chege and Kanini Kega versus Jeremiah Kioni and the former President Uhuru Kenyatta. We've unpacked that conversation for you. We have actually really been truly honored to have you on board, and we really hope that this will send a message to the leaders in the country and also those interested in future politics. You've had the nuggets of wisdom from Herman Manyora, and we thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time on Siasa Brigade, I'm yours truly, Richard Mwanjo. Always a pleasure.